Greetings. Thank you for joining us here on ECAT, Easton Community Access Television. And welcome to Easton 300, a monthly TV show that talks about the highlights of all the events that will be taking place during the year 2025. Congratulations to the Town of Easton, Massachusetts, as they celebrate their 300th anniversary. And folks, the time has arrived. 2025 is here. And I know when we were involved in the planning stages back in 2023, that was early 2023, we felt we had a lot of time to go. And now it's already here. We're in the second month. We've had the first event with about 2,500 people showing up. It was well attended. Gives you an idea the attendance that we're going to get at all the events. I'm Dave Clifton. I'm here along with co-host Brian Hoffman. And we've had the honor and privilege of doing this show many times. And basically once a month, talking about the plans for it. And now we're talking about the plans that have been made and the events and the dates.
Exactly.
And all the things that we've added since. And all the money that's been raised to pull the celebration off. And hats off, of course, to all the volunteers that are willing to share their time, their talent, their ideas, their resources, and in some cases, even their funds to make the dream come real here in Easton, Massachusetts, and that is to celebrate 300 years of history. Our guest today, Brian, is a guy, his name is Dan Andersen, and he and his wife, Jamie, are co-chairing the September 6th event, which will take place at the Governor Ames Estate.
It will.
It's going to be a major block party, folks, not on the main street. It's been moved to Governor Ames Estate. There'll be plenty of room, plenty of space, and there's going to be all kinds of activities. Thank you very much, Dan. Both Brian and I appreciate you not only showing up for this, we think, an interesting show that talks about a giant celebration. Tell us about your event that'll be coming up in September.
Okay. Well, my wife and I, we got asked to join the committee, and then quickly we got ourselves assigned to an actual event, which made it so we had a lot of responsibility instead of just helping.
Who actually asked you? Do you remember?
I think you were one of the first ones to con me into this. I showed up at the meeting and I had pizza, and you said, if you're going to have pizza, then you've got to chair an event, I think is how it went. No, I'm just kidding. We were looking for something to do. Honestly, my wife and I like volunteering and helping, things like that. It's our way to give back. So it was just the right thing to do. Plus, we like planning a party, so it works out well. We've had it all over the place. Originally, it was going to be on Main Street, and then that was determined to be impractical. Mm-hmm. So then the Governor Ames Estate volunteered that we could do that there. And we're like, this is amazing because they have an expansive place where we can set up all sorts of activities, and it's near the water, and it won't feel crowded, things like that. Our one fear that we have to look out for is nice weather. That's the only thing I'm worried about. Mm-hmm. We got to make sure that it's a nice day. But the way the block party is going to work is we're actually going to close off parts of Oliver Street so we can have food trucks right out front. So that'll be the first thing people will see because that level ground, it makes that easier. We're going to have 5 or 6 food trucks in there. We were going to do 3, but then after the success of the first event with the 2,500 people, we're like, this is going to be more people than we had expected. We were budgeting more for the 1,000 to 1,500 people. And the first event was so successful with at least 2,500 that now we're planning for more like 2,500 to 3,000, I think, just because we have to. Yeah, we just have to assume.
We have to Labor Day, and of course the students will be back to school. Families will be home from vacations.
Right.
And I expect you'll get a big crowd. Isn't it fabulous to be able to be sitting here, Brian, talking about crowds?
Yeah,
yeah. When we had that first meeting, we were talking about what are we going to do? When are we going to do it? how are we going to raise the money? You know, the list went on and on.
And how are we going to get people to pay attention? You know, how are we going to grab the attention of a population that is busy enough as it is? You know, I mean, there's lots of things that take up all of our collective time. But you're right. We sat there in early 2024, actually late 2023, thinking about it. And you said something earlier, and I think I want to reflect on that just for a second. You said it's been an honor to have these shows. It really has been, and I think it reflects the honor of being involved in something as overwhelmingly community driven as all of these events are turning to be. And it's an honor also to meet residents like Dan and others that we've been so fortunate to attract to it, who, as Dan just said, you know, he and his wife just feel like giving back. You feel like putting something into the community. And as we've looked at all of these events and all of the work that has gone on by the committee members, by the volunteers, and by folks like you right at home, our viewers who show up and go to these events, we were stunned at that first event with 2,500 plus or minus people. They were streaming in the door as if you know, running a Taylor Swift concert or something. The only thing we didn't have were the bracelets.
And even the generosity of the donors.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And the sponsors.
Yep.
Having been involved in doing similar things like this in the past, I thought that the last thing that we would be able to accomplish would be the fundraising. The fundraising came very quick, and that tells the story about the residents in the town of Easton. They have certainly been indeed very generous. Tell our viewing audience, if you would, Dan, a little bit about yourself, your background, your profession.
Sure.
To get involved as a volunteer, what have you done in the past?
Okay, so my wife and I met at the University of New Hampshire, so I guess we'll start there, and then we got married after that. I was a hospitality major, so I worked in the restaurant field prior to this, and that was a hoot. I loved that, you know, getting to know regulars and doing all that. It was just awesome. But then we had children, and being a restaurant manager with little kids was just very challenging. So we ended up moving down to Easton, which is where my wife is from, because my father-in-law gave me a job at his company, and it's called Hilliard's Chocolate System. We make equipment that coats things in chocolate. So if you ever want to open a candy store, I'm your guy to get equipment for. But so that's what typically I do, but that involves, you know, production of the machines. I go to trade shows where I interact with guests and sell my equipment. I deliver the equipment and set it up and train everyone how to use it. And then we make candy. It's really fun. It's actually a pretty great gig. So that's what I do for a job. But what Dave's alluding to, some of the other stuff we like to do, when we met at the University of New Hampshire, my wife and I were both in the marching band, and band is always, or music in general, has always been very important. We were fortunate that our children followed in our footsteps. So here in Easton, we've been, I can't even tell you how many hundreds of hours we've put into the town in the marching band and band program here. My wife is the chair, and I always say I'm the assistant to the chair of a big event that we do every year called Tigerama, which local high school marching bands come to, and it's a competition that we host here in Easton. It's fabulous because it raises money for the marching band itself. It also saves money because we're not going somewhere else for a competition. It takes so many hours to run all that. And then she also is the chair of getting all the volunteers. It takes a village when it comes to these competitions. So she's the coordinator of all the volunteers. And again, I assist her and I drive the truck for that. But so we've been volunteering with the school for, this was our 7th year, but our daughter's graduating. So I guess you could say we're graduating out of that job as well and passing the torch.
President of the candy store?
I'm the president of my company,
Yeah.
yes, but not to be confused with Hilliard's House of Candy. That was the same company back in the day, but they are 2 separate companies now.
And of course, I have no interest in buying into a candy store, but I have lots of interest in eating candy.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well,
That's been a problem.
You would have enjoyed being at the Easton Chamber of Commerce's annual Business Appreciation Dinner the other evening, because we were honoring the Hilliard family for 100 years in the chocolate business.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Charlie and Judy weren't there, but the daughters were there, and it was a fabulous event. We had a great time. The place was sold out at the Easton Country Club, and Hilliard's is woven into the fabric of this community, just like so many other things that you really can't envision Easton without Hilliard's. And two of our grown daughters are in California, and all of our grandkids are there. And when my wife and I go to visit, we know that if we don't show up with Hilliard's in our suitcases, we're not really welcome. You know, it's like, go back there and get the candy. So it's an icon. I mean, the blue shutters and the kind of gabled colonial building and the great manufacturing building that they built behind there. It's so much a part of what and who this community is. And
Hilliard's is part of the history.
yeah, and so is the Tiger Marching Band. You know, Peg and I spent years in Tempo, the music parents organization.
Did you really?
Oh yeah.
Oh, so that's where my wife is when we're not at our meetings. She tends to be at those meetings.
Your wife played in the band with my middle daughter. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I waved to her as she was going by at the. Is it the Veterans Day
You
parade?
see what this celebration does,
July
folks?
4th
It
parade?
brings
Yeah.
families
Yeah.
together right here on
Yeah.
camera.
It does. It
You know,
does.
Dan, I wanted to ask you also, you have lots of volunteers involved in the block party. Do you still need more?
So
You all set?
that is an awesome question, and we're definitely trying to figure that out. I have an amazing group of friends that have always been very helpful when we were coming up with the Tigerama, the people that get us the food trucks and organize the tickets and everything. There's a group of us that have been doing it for years, and when I kind of went to them and said, hey, I need to plan a party, will you help? Because I can't do it without you. They're like, sure, we'll help. So I have a feeling from a management level, we're good. But I think on the the day of the event, when we're trying to corral people or direct traffic or whatnot, I know that there's going to be the opportunity for at least some volunteers that day, just to make sure everybody knows where they're going, because we're going to use a rather expansive area of the Ames estate, and I feel like if there's enough of us with those glowing orange shirts that we had on in the first event, it'll make it really easy for people to spot us, to then ask a question where you might say, oh, that's over there, or that's over there, just to make it easy so nobody feels overwhelmed, especially if it gets crowded, which on a nice day.
I think we should say especially when.
Yeah, that's right, exactly.
I think, and I have to tell you, so in my business, being connected with community is a very important part of who we are and what we do. And as a result, we're members of 5 different chambers of commerce in the region. And it didn't take long for people who crossed those boundaries between the towns and the chambers to start passing the word around. So literally every chamber event that I have been at since January 4th, I'm hearing like, tell me again about that thing you guys did at Stonehill. How big was it? Can we do something like that here? So I think we may not be setting a standard, but we're definitely creating kind of a vibe out there about community activities that people are just amazed at.
And just to remind our viewing audience, we have a total of 8 signature events that will happen this year, and just about something different each month. And I know that we also have some participating events that are co-sponsored by other groups. But plus we have a year-round celebration that's been annual. All the events that have always taken place in the past will continue without any conflicts. And we're hoping that, we're asking, I guess, all the organizations that do things to kind of beef them up a little bit. This is indeed a special year.
It really is.
When you think about 1725 to 2025, wow. I wasn't there in 1725, and I don't think I'll be there for the 350th anniversary.
Yeah, I think we'll
is
be
a
watching
ways
that
off.
from someplace else.
But I may have something to do with gets buried in the treasurer.
Yeah. Little time capsule or
yes.
whatever, yep.
The
yep.
time capsule will show off a lot of history from this particular year. But tell us about some of the events. I heard that there's going to be a lot of different things, including a dunk tank.
Oh, you mean the activities are? Okay. So when we started planning for this, one of the things we were charged with was coming up with both activities for kids as well as activities for adults, because they didn't want it to be all just kids things. So what we've decided to do, and especially where we have a lot of space, we're going to do a large area which is going to be a craft fair where we're inviting local crafters to come in. And we started with Easton crafters, and really only if we can exceed, I think we're looking for about 40. If we can exceed that, or if we don't get to that, we're going to reach out to neighboring towns. But there's a craft fair that the school does every year as a fundraiser, and it sells out every year. And it's the same people that are helping me in my event. So they told them about the event ahead of time, and more or less it was one of those, well, if you're running it, then I'm going to go. That's the helpful thing about having these people who do this all the time. So we're going to do a craft fair section so that if you want to come down and just look at local crafters and support those local vendors, you can do that. We're going to have a section that's got some more adult-like things. Like I've got an axe throwing group that are coming in, and they bring a whole trailer, and it's set up so it's very safe. You can't throw off to the sides. No one's going to get hurt, but it's all a trailer, and you can do axe throwing inside because that's really popular nowadays, things like that. Shoveltown is going to do a beer garden for us. I wouldn't suggest the beer and the axes at the same time necessarily, different things. We are also, we have a photographer who's going to set up station right near the pond there, which is really popular for doing prom photos. They're going to set it up there, and families will be able to set up ahead of time a reservation where they could do a family photo right along the water while they're there, do something fun like that. And again, they're a local photographer, so we're using all local things. We're going to have a section where, actually we were talking about Hilliard's. I've worked with Hilliard's, and they're going to hopefully work out a tricentennial fudge. You may or may not know, but chocolate is not really conducive to sitting outside. It's not really helpful. Fudge, on the other hand, would be perfect at this event. Even if it was a hot day, the fudge would be all right. And it comes, the way Hilliard's does it is it comes prepackaged. So we're going to have local vendors like Hilliard's come and set up a table where they can sell their wares. We've got the YMCA, the Easton Children's Museum, and I'm forgetting another one, that are going to come set up tables. Oh, the library is going to come set up a table where they're going to do an activity and have information about the library and books to give out, stuff like that, so supporting local companies like that. So we'll have a section for local companies where people can see and basically remember what the town has to offer, so to speak. But then we're going to have a whole huge kids section where we're going to have the inflatables, the dunk tank. Foam parties are really popular. They set up an area where they blow foam at the kids, and it's like just being in soap bubbles. And if you watch the videos, kids just think this is the coolest thing.
And I, Dan, would like to volunteer my co-host.
For the dunk tank? I knew where you were
tank.
going with that, Clifton. No, you don't. No, you don't. I'll follow you. You'll be on the platform first.
We do have to get some volunteers. I really was hoping that we could get some of the teachers from the school or maybe some of the administrators, because I feel like some of the kids would really enjoy doing that. One of the things that I like best that we've got all finally worked out for sure is the Mockingbird Music School that's right here in Easton. They're actually going to bring 3 of their bands. One of their, it's the teenagers rock band, the more adult rock band, and then I think the third one's a jazz band, but don't hold me to that. But they've got 3 different groups. And with that pavilion that they built at the Governor Ames Estate, we're setting that up as the stage where they're going to do the music from. So again, we have another local company that's going to come and do all the music for it as well. So it's all about bringing in the local companies to show off the talent and everything that Easton has to offer. So we have stuff like that.
Well, as you know, that property has walking trails that go from
Right.
front to back. Will it be spread out so that people go from station to station? You know, here's this activity. Oh, that activity's on the other side of the stage.
So I'll say yes, because that's the easy answer to that. We're supposed to meet with the Governor Ames Estate to talk about what is allowed in certain spots. And then of course there's certain spots that's a little more hilly than others. So I do think naturally it's going to get spread out just so that we can find all the flat spots to make sure it's safe. What I want to find out, Langwater Farms is going to do their hayride for us, and I'm hoping to use those trails because I'd like them to go around the Ames estate because I don't think most people realize how expansive it is. I just, again, I need permission from the Ames estate to make sure it's okay to bring the horse-drawn carriage on those roads. But I thought that would be neat for people to be able to see.
What about the pavilion? They just built one that
Yeah.
Right.
certainly
That's
could
where the
use the
stage will be,
music
right?
and stuff.
Right, exactly. That's where the music will be. We figure if it's a hot day, we'll set up tables and chairs there, so if people want to bring the food and sit and watch the music, the performances there, they'll be able to. So we'll have that set up there. The food trucks are all going to have to be out on Oliver Street just to keep it level and easy. But that'll be out there. So realistically, from Oliver Street all the way back to the mansion, we'll probably have something there, and it'll just be a matter of what people want to do.
Have you just joined us, folks? We're talking with Dan Andersen. He and his wife Jamie are coordinating the major block party that'll take place on September 6th at the Governor Ames Estate. And the time?
The time? What do we pick? Oh, no.
11 to
3, right?
To 3 or 4.
Yeah.
It's going to be a great family event, and it's one of 8 different events that'll take place on 7 different days, scattered throughout this year, 2025, as we celebrate our 300th anniversary. Wow, has this celebration developed?
It has.
Thanks to all of the folks in town that got involved. As you can see, I guess we have the right colors. We have our theme clock, and the whole town is covered with this stuff one way or another.
I'm glad you mentioned that. The pole banners, we call them the pole banners. People refer to them as flags on the telephone poles, whatever. But as they have populated the major thoroughfares through the town, more and more people are noticing and talking about it and saying, how did that happen? So I think there's a sense, I think, around the community that some of this stuff is just happening without anybody doing it. And so it's great that people like Dan and Jamie and others who have said, yeah, sign us up, we'll get involved, have helped to make this just happen, because nothing just happens.
Yeah.
And the way that it's happened, the quality of the programming, the activities, the events, and everything else that's involved with it really is, as I say, I hear from other towns, like, are you going to do this? I keep hearing from people in town, will this be an every year event? No, the thing over at Stonehill, can we have something in the winter for the kids like this every year?
It happens.
People talking about the family fun day. Oh, that's a great thing. We could have it every summer or every what. So I think that we're going to see this kind of capture a little bit of a life of its own, and perhaps the businesses who've been so generous in supporting, and thank you to all of them, perhaps they'll see value in saying, well, yeah, let's do this again next year, or let's make that biannual. We'll do it every 2 years.
It's interesting, you mentioned the pole banners. We now have about 200 pole banners scattered throughout the parade route, on Center Street, on Main Street, on Depot Street, on Route 106. You can't help but miss them.
No, they're everywhere. It's
So the 200 pole banners plus another
billboard.
couple of hundred yard signs.
Yep.
There are billboards. There are major signs like this one over here on the easel. Certainly the word's getting around that there's a major celebration, but as you mentioned earlier, Brian, that the theme is bringing families and community together, and you spoke about that.
Yeah.
That's one of the charges that the Easton Select Board gave the committee when they were originally appointed back in early 2023. And that is, do what you can to bring the community together. It's time for the town of Easton to celebrate.
Sure, absolutely.
It's time for families to do things together. It's time for neighborhoods.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
get along with
absolutely.
your neighbors and to participate with your neighbors. There's going to be lots of activities with all the things going on. There's got to be something that you like. If you're going to celebrate, if you're going to enjoy, do it in town. You don't have to drive into Boston. This is going to be a banner year for the town of Easton, Massachusetts.
Yeah.
And I know that lots of folks are talking about it. And again, I was totally shocked myself when I saw the crowd that came to the first event at Stonehill College.
It was super impressive because it was very cold that day. It was one of those cold, bitter, cold days, and the families came out in droves for something fun to do.
And David, you just mentioned neighborhoods, and neighborhoods make up a community. What we saw when we were at the event at Stonehill was neighborhoods seeing each other and saying, I haven't seen you since September or since the summer or whatever. So you were seeing clusters of adults and their kids, neighborhoods coming together, and, oh, we're over at those two tables, come on over. And that kind of social impact, I think is a natural outcropping of what these kinds of events mean to a community like Easton. And neither of us are from around here. We moved here after I got out of the service because somebody said Easton had a good school system, and we planned on having a family. And both things were true. We had a family, and Easton had a great school system. But it's just amazing to see how all of this coalesces together, how all of it just continues to make an impression on people in town that this is our community. This is something we're doing, and it's turning out great.
And I think the exciting thing about it happening is the fact that the people in town are looking for it. It's lots of families have gone through maybe some grief, or maybe the world is not exactly what they were hoping for, but things are going to change, and we in the town of Easton, Massachusetts, are certainly going to be very positive. Before we take a short break, I did want to thank Michelle Ferrara, who happens to be the director of CERT, Community Emergency Response Training. And they're going to be covering all of our events throughout the year. And she's agreed to come on the air with us, Brian, at some point in time. But we thank all of her volunteers, and they're going to be at the site to help with first aid, or we expect large crowds at all the events, whether it be a bonfire, fireworks, an art and cultural festival. The list goes on and on. Right now, I would like to also give a shout out to ECAT, Easton Community Access Television, for not only covering all of our meetings, but covering all the events that take place here in the town of Easton. And they're going to be on board. They're part of our committee to cover the 300th anniversary. We'll take this short break. Hurry back. Welcome back to another edition of Easton 300. That's the name of our TV show held once a month since early 2023. And folks, I hope that you're not getting sick of us. Sometimes we repeat a lot of events, but there's been lots of changes, and it's a great opportunity for us through the media to spread the good word about this celebration. And I know that there's lots of folks out there wondering where we got the money for this celebration. And of course, you should know that thanks to all the residents in town and their timely and healthy donations, we've been able to support all these events. And we're so very proud of the contribution from the town as a result of a donation from Stonehill College. We were able to get a few dollars that have gone into the kitty towards the celebration. But it's truly amazing how generous the people in town have been.
Absolutely.
And we're excited about all the events. And we're feeling pretty comfortable that we can pay for all the events that will take place. We're not in a position where we want to buy something that we don't have money for. So we're going to do the best we can to provide you the celebration that you deserve with lots of participation. Either you're watching or participating in the events, or you're running the events, or you're watching the events on ECAT. The fact is, we are a community. We're all together in this. And we want 2025 to be a time that will long be remembered.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned it too, Dave, because, and Dan mentioned it when we were on break, it's important for people to understand that all of these events that we're talking about are free to the residents of the town, with the exception of the gala at the end of the year in December, which again will be held at Stonehill College in the Sally Blair Ames complex. And again, we owe a huge debt of gratitude to Father John Denning and to the board and the leadership of the school for helping us in that way and for making their facilities possible. But
the Skyhawks came through.
The Skyhawks absolutely came through. But the rest of the events, as Dan was good to bring up, are free to the public. So the sponsors, the businesses, and the individuals who have plunked a little money into the tin can are the ones that are helping everybody in the community, regardless of who they are and where they live. Everybody's welcome to join into these activities and to have a good time in celebrating the town's 300th birthday.
And again, it's, as Brian mentioned, it's free to get in. It's just a tariff to get out. Only kidding. Only kidding, folks. We hope that you'll be at all the events. And of course, the gala is expected. That's going to be the final event of the year.
Yep.
That'll be at Stonehill College as well. It'll be on December 27th. The college is on break at that time. We're expecting hopefully hundreds and hundreds of people that'll come to the final gala with all of the local and state officials will be there as well. Something else you'd like to say about the events that you're having? You mentioned music, and there are going to be food trucks there.
Right. We should say that. So it's true. The events are free to get in, to do all the activities, things like that. However, most of the events will have food trucks at them for food to be purchased. That's on them. We got a lot of generous sponsors and whatnot, but to be able to feed 3,000 people was just not in the cards. So you should know that. The event, all the fun games, the bouncy houses, the dunk tank, which Dave generously said on break that he'd love to be in. Stuff like that. Those activities are all free.
And the food you'd have to pay for.
Food you have to
the
pay
napkins are going to be free.
That's right. Exactly. We can do that.
And the utensils.
That's right. So
anything that we might have missed? I know that ECAT is thrilled about this because it happens to be right across the street from where they are. They don't have a long ways to travel.
That's true. Yeah, no, it's helpful
to cover
that way.
this event. But you're talking about having activities for people of all ages.
Right.
And that alone is a big draw. And usually we have decent weather at that time of the year, so we're excited about it. And I know if some people are disappointed that we moved it from the square, well, there are safety reasons, traffic control, those issues. But we moved to a spot where we can do more things. So it's going to be a larger block party than you might have seen before. But let's talk about some of the other events that are coming up. I know the very next two events will take place in April. I'm talking about a partnership event, the Family Fun Event. We call it the Easton 300 Family Fun Event at Langwater Farm. And of course, that'll take place on April 19th.
Yes.
And of course, that will draw lots of people. There'll be all kinds of activities for people of all ages. If you can't get a hay wagon ride, you'll get other rides. There'll be lots of events, lots of activities, and you'll see lots of smiles on a lot of the kids' faces.
You will.
And then, of course, the second, I should say, cultural event We call it the Easton 300 Art and Cultural Event. That'll be on April 26th. And we thank, of course, the sponsor of that, which would be the Northeast Savings Bank. They have been so generous. And that cultural event will draw lots of people. There'll be music. There'll be lots of artists in town. This is a community filled with artists that do outstanding jobs. When you see some of the artwork that's available, there's going to be
it'll be a chance to
refreshments.
show off that beautiful Oaks Ames Memorial Hall too.
Yeah.
So,
And it's going to be in a nice location. There's going to be some activity taking place at the Ames Free Library. And I know that folks don't have to go far up the street for something will take place in one of the churches. So it's going to be a fun day. Again, I repeat those two dates in April. April 19th, the Easton 300 Family Fun Day at Langwater. And of course, on April 26th, the Art and Cultural Festival. And of course, we thank the coordinators. Karen Hetzel, her husband, also Thomas is very much involved in working together, coordinating the event with all the volunteers. And we certainly want to thank Joan Lungsgren
yeah, Jones.
and Diane Lasati. They're co-chairing the Art and Cultural Festival. But I know that the next event is going to take place on Flag Day,
Yeah,
June 14th.
it's going to be a day.
And tell us a little bit about it. I know there's going to be fireworks at 9 p.m.
Yep.
We also have the opportunity to have a special flag ceremony.
Yeah.
That's going to begin at 4 p.m. We're going to bring in 3 large flags. It takes 40 people just to hold one flag.
It's a big flag.
It is.
And of course, it's Flag Day. We have a chance to not only salute the red, white, and blue, the American flag, but we get a chance with a 42-piece band to salute all the veterans in the town.
Yeah, we do.
And guess what? We're going to have a flyover
Yeah, we are.
to salute the town of Easton,
That's so cool.
Massachusetts.
That's really pretty
That
neat.
is absolutely
And I
cool.
thought about it last night when I was watching the Super Bowl
Yeah.
pregame ceremony. You saw the planes fly over. I said to myself, they're on their way to Sharon, Massachusetts. And of course, somebody said to me, Dave, why are you so interested in a big celebration? I said, that's the whole idea. We have a lot to celebrate.
We do. We do. And
300 years.
And when you think of all of the folks who get involved in something like that, from the town administrator, Connor Reed, from the head of the DPW, the chief of police, the fire chief, the folks with CERT, and then you go outside a little bit and engage the state police air wing, and you get people from veterans organizations and you just can't imagine the scope until you're there and you live it and you breathe it, and you know it's going to be memories for a lifetime. I
Thank
think,
you,
for a lot of people.
Our fire chief. What a terrific job he's done.
Yep.
He's probably the only fire chief around that really gets excited about fireworks and bonfires. But
He had a
what
blast
a
with the
personality he has.
Mm-hmm.
And he's doing it with the dignity that it deserves. He's doing it with a smile on his face. And he's protecting the community at the same time with lots of volunteers and firefighters. And he and our police chief have worked together in terms of security, and the deputy chiefs as well.
Yep.
It's been absolutely terrific, and I've said this many times before. We appreciate the support and the volunteer leadership from all of our town department heads. They're really into community. They're really into making a village like your event is. And that event on June 14th, as you look at the flag, as you look to the sky,
Yep.
as you see
Yep.
the fireworks, and you're going to see some orange in the fireworks, folks.
Yeah.
This is going to be one of the nicest fireworks
Easton
displayed.
colors in the fireworks.
Oh.
It's going to be a nice celebration. The fireworks company is trying to impress us so they can come back in a later date in another year. So
That's
they're
perfect.
going to go all out.
Knock,
And,
yeah,
looking
knock
forward to
yourselves
it.
out.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we'll love that,
We're
you know.
expecting thousands of people. We look for lots of cooperation. There will be a safety plan, folks. We expect everybody to follow it. Let's keep our families safe. Let's come together and let's do exactly what the public safety departments want us to do. And now, Co-Chair Brian, let's talk about the parade. It's been a while since we've had a giant parade like this.
I'll tell you.
It's being planned by Corey Honan,
Yep,
former veterans agent here, now works for the state.
yep.
And I told him to start working on the governor. We would like the governor to be in our parade.
That'd be pretty cool.
And of course, right now, the parade is going to line up on Center Street.
Down by the statue.
Yeah, and the street across from the lights.
Oh, right, yeah.
It looks
Going
like
into
It looks like we're going to have
Kennedy Circle or something like that.
all the fire departments from area towns on Center Street. They'll be lining up near Short Street. And then there'll be 3 divisions behind them.
Yep.
There'll be 2 more divisions across the street from the monument. And we're going to use the old school facility for a lineup.
Go down to Center School, yeah.
We have
Yep.
about 7 bands that are going to join us. These are bands and drummel bugle corps. We're going to have floats in the parade. We're going to have horses. We're going to have motorcycles. We're going to have bikes. We're going to have police. We're going to have fire. We're going to have the Clydesdales joining us. We got the Shriners coming in.
Shriners will be great. That's going to be a great show.
We got the Army National Guard joining
Yep.
us.
Yep.
We got military trucks. We got kids. We got lots of community-spirited residents who want to be in a parade. We got a review stand that'll be placed at DPW. There'll be a disc jockey there to play music. There'll be antique cars. There'll be convertibles. There are going to be lots of banners in the parade, and we thank the Haynes Group for sponsoring the parade.
Yeah.
Very special.
Yeah, Mike and Brian are great guys. And you and Dale will be there in costume in your colonial get-ups.
We will be doing what we can to be part of the parade.
Well, have you maybe riding one of the Clydesdales?
I was going to say, you going to be on a horse to go with the costume, or you're going to be in a convertible?
Well,
'Cause
it
it's cool.
was
Yeah.
suggested by one of the residents that the chair of this celebration should march behind the Clydesdale with a
Yes.
bucket and a
Yep.
shovel. But I could do that too, folks, and have
Yep.
done it
Absolutely.
when I was a kid, as a joke. But anyways, there's going to be lots of activities in the parade, and there's going to be lots of people watching. And of course, we've made it so that with the parade lineup and Corey and his volunteer team, there's about 15 of them working on the parade. They're going to be needing another 30, 35 volunteers on the day of the parade. And it takes a lot of people to line up a parade and to keep the parade together. And I know that someone said to me, it's a long ways to walk. It's a 2-mile parade going up Center Street to Main Street. I went to the Walpole parade, and that was 2.5 miles. So this is a short one
There
compared
you
to
go.
Walpole.
There you go. We've
But
just
we're going to
made it
make
easy.
sure that some of the senior adults have a vehicle to ride in. I understand that the senior bus will be in the parade holding seniors that can wave to the crowd. And we can wave to them for the history that they brought, helped bring to the town of Easton, Massachusetts.
Exactly.
But there'll be lots of dignitaries that'll be joining us. There'll be parade marshals. There'll be all kinds of things going on that you're going to say, is this an Easton parade?
I know it.
And it's going to be something that who knows might continue. But it's an expensive parade to put together. And there have been some people who also are going to sponsor a couple of bands
Right.
that are expensive.
Yep.
So the word is out. We did a great job of switching the parade from July 4th. So all of the vacationists that live here in the town of Easton can attend this July 12th parade. But another good thing happened. A lot of the bands and floats and things were ready
Yeah.
because they didn't have other parades to compete with. So it's going to be something special.
Yep.
And we're hoping to have a little get-together at the Oak Ames Memorial Hall afterwards for the parade participants.
Yep. That
And,
whole area with Oaks Ames Hall and the Rockery is, for 300 years it's been a meeting place. So it's very appropriate that that's kind of a place to hang out, when you're done. And again, let's remind our viewers and their families and friends, fundraising is what is supporting all of this activity. So it's not taxpayer money that's going into this. It is money from citizens, residents, businesses, and people who are genuinely glad to support the town in its 300th. So,
Even posters and banners and
Yeah.
signs, all that stuff is either donated or paid for through the donation and sponsorship category, which we are so pleased. We cannot thank the business owners, the merchants, and the residents who stepped forward. They want this to be a major celebration. And when I think of the cookbook that was put together
oh yeah,
by
yeah,
Diane Lasardi and her committee,
yep. 300 great recipes.
very impressive. I've already eaten 200 of those recipes. The fact is that they took the time to put it together,
Yep.
and people are buying into it. They
Yes.
want to have a copy of it.
Yeah.
We also are grateful to, I should say, Chris Ventresco, who is chairing and coordinating the book that we're putting together, our anniversary celebration book.
Yep.
This will be the last thing that'll come through, and it'll be the history of future years to come for people to look at. There's going to be so many people's pictures in the book
Yeah.
that everybody's going to buy a copy of the book. And I know that even I thank ECAT, Easton Community Access Television. They're going to have a couple of cameras covering the parade.
Good.
One is going to be in the parade covering the people watching the parade,
Oh, really?
and one
like
is
a-
going to be on the sidelines covering the parade.
It's like an inverse parade.
Yeah.
So
Kinda
walk
folks,
down-
all you have to
exactly.
do is look at ECAT and you're going to see the parade again.
Oh, a different point of view.
And you're going to
Would be
see
good.
yourself. Not that everybody's excited about being on TV. They're not combing their hair before we go on the air here like
Hopefully. not.
Brian and I do.
What's left?
The fact is that it's exciting. I know you're a coordinator of one event
Yep.
and you've been to the meetings.
Yep.
Can you feel the excitement in the air? Can you see the progress that's been made since we first met?
So, yes. So, I think the thing that I like the most about all of this is in this day and age, everyone's busy, and it seems like their whole life is run by their phones. And all too often, you just see everybody doing this, and really they've got blinders on. And I don't know that we are as friendly with our neighbors. Like if you watch TV shows from the 50s and 60s, there was lots of people getting together and having block parties and doing things, and you just don't see that as much nowadays, and it's a shame. And one of the things that all of our events are doing, and the theme of bringing families together, is kind of harking back to that and getting people together without the need of the technology and things like that. So it can be like, hey, it's nice to see you. Let's go do this together. And and it's really neat to see the smiles as like you said, neighbors seeing neighbors they hadn't seen in a while and things like that. And and really reminding people that Easton is a great town to live in, and there's a lot of wonderful people here. And this is just a neat way to, I guess, spark that and remind people that there's more than just our devices that are in our lives, you know?
Yeah, I think that's well said. Yeah, it's very true. And when we were at that event at Stonehill in January, you didn't see people playing with their phone.
No.
They were playing
No.
with their kids.
Yep.
They were watching their kids with little plastic tomahawk throw.
That's right.
They were enjoying a glass of wine or a beer from Shoveltown, or even a little taste of Shoveltown's new
I think I was the
spirits.
only one on the phone, and I was trying to get 3 more volunteers to come up to this end of the event.
But it was, I mean,
It was uncanny. It was
a great way to, I think, give a sense of purpose to the rest of the events and the rest of the year, that with that kind of a turnout, I can't tell you how many people say, God, I wish I'd known that was going on.
Yeah.
Perfect.
You know, so if we keep doing these shows with the blessing of ECAT, and if we keep having great dynamic guests like Dan and everybody else who's been on with us to tell folks about what we're going to be doing, you know, we just got to get the word out, you know, and maybe those devices will help us do that. But once you get
That's
there,
true.
put them in your
Put
pocket
them away,
and
or
have a
just
good
take
time.
pictures.
Yeah.
You know, one thing that I was super curious about, because in this day and age, social media either makes or breaks you. So for the week after the first event, I was very active in looking through all the pages that I follow, and we had nothing but good things said about that event. Like there was even people talking about the parking and how we had shuttles to get people from the faraway lots there because it was cold. Everything people were talking about was positive.
Yep.
You never see that in
Yeah.
an event. There's always people there complaining, and it was such a positive experience that that's why we've had to up what we think
That's
will come to the
something to
next
build on.
events.
You're right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Because people now, like to your point, they didn't know about it. Now they see all these people talking about how fun it was and how easy it was. Well, of course they're going to come to the next one.
Sure.
And I think it's just going to snowball until the end. So I have to tell you, my event being in September has me scared to death. We might pack the Governor Ames estate because everyone in town will show up.
Well,
That'd be a nice problem to
It
have.
would be a great problem.
really
Somebody
would.
said to me, how many people are actually watching ECAT to watch your show? And I said, well, there's 3 people, and not only were the 3 people watching, but they were the 3 that were on last week.
That's right, yeah.
Month. Only kidding.
I
But
think
the
they'd be
fact-
surprised how many people
Yeah.
comment on this.
It's
So-
amazing. All we have to do is pronounce a name wrong, and we'll get a call
Oh, yeah. Yep.
tonight. But
Yep.
I did want to give a thank you, because we did talk about the fireworks. I want to thank Alex Pyres for his healthy donation. A former resident of the town, a graduate of Oliver Ames High School. He was a Tiger when he played sports. And he has done pretty well, and he has been generous enough
has.
to make that donation.
He has
We
always
also
remembered
thank
the town.
we also thank the Bank of Easton. Not only are they providing the concert, the community picnic, but they're also doing the flag ceremony, and we appreciate their efforts.
Yep.
And some of our other sponsors, certainly the block party, we thank Doug King
Right.
and his building company for jumping in. And Doug has always been very generous in just about every event that takes place in the town. We certainly want to thank the Lee Williams Foundation. They are sponsoring the gala. And I always remember Lee Williams, the late Lee Williams, how generous he was. He made the first donation to our celebration.
He did. He did.
He went to a select board's meeting a number of years ago when he was still around. And he made a $10,000 donation at a select board's meeting towards the 2025 300th anniversary.
Yep.
You talk about vision, you talk about planning.
Yep.
He was ready for us, and we thank you, Lee,
Yep.
the late Lee Williams, for the healthy donation,
And you're
which
talking
even
about
multiplied.
community. That
Yeah.
was Lee Williams.
Yeah,
That meant a lot to him.
yeah.
So.
I understand he was a member of the Lions Club.
Oh
as
my
well.
God, he was the recruiter extraordinaire for the Lions Club. I've been a Lion twice, and he recruited me both times. So. I think.
We'd also like to thank, as I mentioned, our fire chief for coordinating the bonfire.
Yep.
There'll be fireworks, and the Lions Club is going to do a barbecue. What a great place to bring the family to sit and look at the fire and to reminisce about the history of the town of Easton. We thank Dave Howe. That is scheduled on the 11th of October. There is a rain date on the 12th of October. There is a rain date for the fireworks. If it doesn't take place on the 14th, it'll be on the 15th. Those are things that you have to take care of right away the next night because of fire.
Yeah.
But I'd also like to remember the Borderland State Park event.
Oh, right. Yeah,
Which
the
is the
Antique Auto
car
Show.
show.
Yeah.
That's on the morning of October 11th. We thank Dale Thistle for coordinating that event. There'll be music. There'll be hopefully 300 cars.
I talked to Dale about
in
that,
that
and he
event.
said the last year they had about 180, 185, and he said, we're going to hit that 300 number just because we're going to make sure we get 300 for the 300.
That'd be
So
good marketing that way, yeah.
I told him my car's 12 years old, maybe to qualify. He said, nah, you know.
But the fact is that there's lots of things happening. We're coming to the end of the show, and I certainly thank my co-host, who's been so reliable to join us here on this show.
Always
and
a
we're going to
pleasure.
be doing the show for the rest of the 2025 year.
We are. We are.
And I want to thank you, Dan,
Yeah.
not only for coordinating the event, for your personality. I've always felt, as a radio person, that you got a voice for radio. He knows how to express himself, and he comes across loud and clear.
It's funny,
Thank
my
you.
kids always tell me I have a good face for radio.
Any final comment?
I guess my only thing that I thought of that we were speaking of is we are looking for local businesses who want to have a table at our block party. So if that is something that interests you, you can go to the Easton 300 website and there's a contact us page, and you could submit there what your local business is and that you'd like to be a part of that, and that will get forwarded to me. So it's not too late. We've got plenty of time and plenty of room.
Good.
So if you'd like to do an informational booth or a game or activity, you'd be welcome at the block party.
And that's easton300.org. Again, I repeat, www.easton.org. Final comment?
No, I think I'd be very difficult to top what we've already talked about. I want to thank the viewers for tuning in. Stay with us every month. From month to month, we're going to have other folks who are really deeply involved in the Easton 300 celebration. Thank you, Dave, for hosting these. Dan, great to have you with us.
Pleasure.
Thank you, folks, for joining us here on ECAT, Easton Community Access Television. Go forth to serve. Do it with a smile on your face. And if you're going to do something good, do it with the dignity that it deserves. And folks, I say to you, this TV show has been a production of ECAT, Easton Community Access Television, in conjunction with the Tricentennial Committee. Thank you.